So last week I said I want BlackRock to buy Bitcoin. And let's just say Bitcoin Twitter and some of you guys that follow me on Instagram did not have the best reaction to that. You had your opinions, and you know what? I'll give you that. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But the more that I learn and the more that I talk to people, the more that I realize the uncomfortable truth. Owning Bitcoin is absolutely not the same as controlling Bitcoin. And I emphasized this a lot in my video last week, so check that out if you haven't seen it already. But you might have price exposure. But if you don't have the keys or a node, you're basically outsourcing the entire point of Bitcoin. Welcome back to the Orange Peel Podcast. I'm your host, Nicki, and today I'm learning in public once again. This episode is all about self-sovereignty, self-custody, whatever it is that you want to call it. We're going to talk about how custody works, what private keys actually are, and why running a node is the decision that separates Bitcoin the asset from Bitcoin the revolution. So let's get into it. Okay, let's start with what I wish someone had explained to me on day one. There are levels to Bitcoin ownership. Not all of them give you sovereignty. Here's a spectrum. You have ETF Bitcoin, which is owning a claim on Bitcoin. This is not very sovereign. You have Exchange Bitcoin, which is basically an IOU. So if I buy something from River or Strike or Coinbase, whatever your preferred exchange is, I have an IOU from this company, which is better than an ETF, but it's still very custodial, not very sovereign. Again, then you have a hot wallet. And if you watched my episode on how to buy Bitcoin from a couple months, I want to say, back, we talked about how to buy Bitcoin on Strike and convert it into, not convert it, but move it into your blue wallet. So this one is better. You hold your own keys, but the internet can still touch them. So it's kind of decent in terms of sovereignty. Then you have a hardware wallet. This is where your keys live totally offline. This is so much better than the previous options, and this is something that I definitely recommend you guys to look into. Then you have, multi-sig, which is distributed control. So it's harder to screw up. And then you have using a node plus a wallet. And this is like the final boss of self-custody and self-sovereignty where you verify your own Bitcoin. So here's an analogy that I came up with during, studying some distributed systems. An ETF is like having your name on a group project. A hardware wallet is like doing your own project. And running a node is basically grading everyone's projects. It's the best. So the big idea is this. Institutions can buy Bitcoin, but only you can secure your Bitcoin. So what is a private key? Because no one tells you this in super plain English. Explain for Gen Z. Let's go. A private key is basically your master password. It's the admin login to your money. Anyone who has it basically is you. Anyone who doesn't has zero authority over your wallet, your Bitcoin, whatever. If you give this admin password to an exchange, guess what? You've just promoted Coinbase or Binance to system administrator. Here's the part that really shocks beginners though. Bitcoin doesn't know your name. Bitcoin doesn't know your identity. It only knows your keys. The protocol doesn't care if it sends coins to you or to a hacker. It just checks the math. This is why self-custody matters. Bitcoin is only decentralized if you don't outsource your security. Let's talk hardware wallets, the thing that everyone says to buy, but no one explains why you need it. A hardware wallet isolates your private key in a dedicated secure chip, meaning your laptop can get hacked, but your key is still safe. Your phone can get malware, your key never touches iOS or Android, and Wi-Fi attacks really don't matter because your key never leaves the device itself. So you sign transactions completely offline, then broadcast them online. It's like having your signature stored in a vault, and only the courier touches the internet. Here's the important nuance though. A hardware wallet doesn't make you sovereign by itself. It just makes you harder to steal from. Real sovereignty comes in the next segment. This is the part that people miss, and it's the most important thing I've learned in Bitcoin so far. Self-custody controls your coins. Running a node controls the rules. BlackRock can hold more Bitcoin than you. Your exchange can hold your coins hostage, but they cannot override your node. Nodes verify, every block, every transaction, every UTXO, every rule of the Bitcoin protocol itself. So if someone tries to break Bitcoin, change the 21 million Bitcoin limit, freeze coins, censor transactions, your node will literally reject their version of the chain. And that is real power. And it doesn't come from wealth. It comes from running a computer literally in your dorm room. So here's my final takeaway. Institutions bring liquidity. We spoke about this again in my video last week. So once again, check that out if you still don't understand why I think BlackRock should buy more Bitcoin. But back to this one. Self-custody brings sovereignty. Your node brings decentralization. You don't have to be a cypherpunk. You don't need to be a dev or any kind of finance mogul. It doesn't matter. You just need to take one step at a time. So this week, I am focused on finishing up my Raspberry Pi node setup and probably, hopefully not, but probably breaking my Wi-Fi in the process. So if you have tips, please drop them below. And if you're a beginner, tell me what scares you the most about self-custody. And if you haven't set up a Raspberry Pi or another node yourself, tell me why. What are you scared of? We're all learning in public here. It's important that we have these conversations. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope it made self-custody and self-sovereignty a little bit clearer. And with that being said, I'm your host, Nicki, and I will see you next week on Tuesday. Until then, stay curious, stay skeptical, and stay orange-pilled.